Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE and compare it against the iPad 11th generation and see which particular tablet is the better one for you. Now, the biggest thing I can definitely tell you, in my personal opinion, is that if I'm about to go through, right, if I'm about to go and pick up another device, I think both of these are pretty solid options. They have very good things, they bring a lot of stuff to the table, and I genuinely do think these are fairly good tablets, right? They're very well priced and they make a lot of sense to go and pick up. Now, to start, if you want to go and pick up either one of these particular tablets, you can pick them up in the links down in the description below, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular tablets. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE that just came out back in 2023, so it's been a little bit of time now. On the front side of the Tab S9 FE is giving you an IPS LCD panel. It's 10.9 inches and it's 90 Hz. So it's basically almost an 11-inch display. It looks pretty good. There's not really too many things to hate on it here. And I do think it is a pretty good looking panel to say the least. You have pretty thin bezels on it, so not anything super insane. You're also still going through and getting a 1440p display on this thing, which actually isn't even as high as a resolution as the iPad 11 Gen has. But this is a very good looking tablet. And it's a 90 Hz display too. So it's 90 Hz, 1440p, pretty high resolution, and it's an IPS LCD panel. I think this is a pretty good looking tablet when it actually kind of comes down to it. Now, on something like the iPad 11th generation, this is a little bit of a different story because it's still kind of the same thing. So it's giving you an 11-inch liquid retina IPS LCD display. Now, what's really interesting about this particular panel is that this one is a higher resolution than the Galaxy Tab S9 FE. So if you're about to go through and pick up another display or pick up another tablet, you're actually going to be going through and picking up a tablet on the iPad 11 Gen, which is going to be giving you a better experience. So I actually do think that is kind of a big thing to keep in mind here, because if you're going to go through and pick up a device, that is going to be a really nice thing to have. On the flip side though, it is just a 60 Hz display. So that is kind of one of the biggest saddest points on this particular tablet, because unfortunately, like with the Tab S9 FE, you're going to be getting a 90 Hz display, and even 90 Hz seems a little bit outdated, but 60 Hz is definitely outdated. I'm going to feel like I'm having like a little bit of an older device when it comes down to it. So that is kind of a sad thing. What are you going to do? There's not really too much you can do about it in this particular situation, but that is just one of those other things to keep in mind there from that particular side. Now, on top of that, another very important thing to keep in mind here too is that with something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE and the iPad 11, they're both relatively built around the same way. So this is kind of one of those things to keep in mind here, because they're both kind of the same. They're both giving you USB Type-C ports on the bottom, both giving you headphone jacks. They're both giving you a lot of different things here that are very similar. They're both giving you, camera setups on the backside as well, which is another really cool thing. And I'll tell you, if you're going to go and pick up either one of these, they're both relatively similar. There's not too many differences here when it at least comes down to basically like the exterior besides the 90 Hz panel, because they're both relatively built the same way. They both support stylus support as well, which again is nice, but I kind of do like the support on more like the S Pen on like the Tab S9 FE, to be honest, because it's wireless. Another big thing here, the Tab S9 FE is actually giving you IP certification. It's IP68 dust and water resistance, which is actually pretty crazy. The iPad 11 Gen isn't giving you any sort of IP certification like that. So that right there could end up being another key takeaway when it kind of comes down to that point as well. So kind of keep that in mind when you kind of think about it from that particular perspective. Now, on top of that, another very important thing to keep in mind here too are basically the cameras. So the cameras on both of these, it's not anything super insane. It's not anything we haven't seen before. You're essentially going to be getting a 12 megapixel camera on the iPad 11 Gen, whereas on the Tab S9 FE, you're going to be getting an 8 megapixel wide angle camera. On the front, both of them are giving you 12 megapixel ultra wide cameras. And it's so funny because these are both very competitive devices. They're both very, very similar in a lot of different ways. And when I'm looking at both these, I'm going to be honest, they're both very similar. However, with the Tab S9 FE, it maxes out at 4K at 30 on the back, which in my opinion is kind of a little bit outdated to have in a phone like this. The iPad 11 Gen is going to be giving you 4K at 60 frames per second. So this right there is actually a pretty important type of resolution to have, because 4K at 60 is almost always my go-to. And if I'm going to go through and pick up some sort of iPad or tablet to use, I do kind of prefer having something like an iPad 11 Gen with having that 4K 60 on the back. It's not the biggest deal in the world. It's not going to be the reason I'm going to go and upgrade. But if I'm going to go and pick up a device, that is going to be one of those big key takeaways here, because I'm wanting to go through and get a device in that particular situation. So in my personal opinion, I think the iPad 11 Gen kind of wins from the performance, from the camera standpoint, but the Tab S9 FE's camera is still good for a tablet. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. Now on top of that, when it comes down to software longevity, it's a little bit tough to tell which one's going to be the longer lasting one here. I would probably go off on a limb and say something like a, iPad 11 Gen might be the one that's going to be the longer lasting one here. Like, I feel like both these are still going to be supported with software for quite a bit of time, but if I'm going to go and pick up one of these, I kind of do feel like at the end of the day, something like an iPad 11 might end up being the one that's going to be lasting for a longer period of time, considering it came out like a year and a half later. It does have like kind of a newer chipset, and it has the same chipset as the iPhone 15, so kind of the same. So I would imagine that that one is going to be lasting for roughly around the same time as that one. So that right there is going to be another one of those minor things to keep in mind there as well. When it comes down to battery life, this is another key takeaway here. This could be another one of those things where we're just comparing sizes, but the Galaxy Tab S9 FE has a 8,000 mAh battery. We don't know for a fact how big the iPad 11's battery is, but they do say 28.93 watt hours. I would probably say when it comes down to it, both these are going to be long lasting tablets. They're not going to feel like, one's going to be, worse or better based on other devices from their particular area. But maybe I would say the iPad 11 is going to be the better one, but it's so close I don't even want to give the wrong answer. When it comes down to the performance though, this is another interesting thing. So the iPad 11 is giving you the Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigs of RAM, where the Galaxy Tab S9 FE is giving you the Exynos 1380 chipset inside with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM. So the maxed out model of the Tab S9 FE is going to be overall giving you more RAM than the iPad 11. So this is another one of those big things to keep in mind here, because if you're wanting the tablet, once again, that's going to be giving you the overall better experience, well, something like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE, from the memory standpoint, could end up being the better tablet here. But with something like the iPad 11 Gen, this is also going to be one of those tablets that's also going to be giving you pretty solid experience when it comes down to the performance. So the choice is kind of yours when it comes down to it. Both are very, very good. But if I'm going to go and pick up one, once again, I kind of do feel like something like an iPad 11 Gen is going to be a very good tablet. But the Tab S9 FE, with the mixture of the memory and the RAM, but also with the mixture of the capability with its screen, with the 90 Hz screen, it might end up feeling like the faster one here. So in my personal opinion, if I'm looking at both these particular tablets, I really do feel like both these are fairly good options, right? The Tab S9 FE, it's a little bit older, so you could buy that one for maybe a cheaper price, and that might be a better option here for some people. But looking at something like the iPad 11, I also feel like that's a very good option. You could easily go ahead and buy that tablet too, and still feel like you're getting a really, really good tablet when it comes down to it. So if I were you, I would also think about buying a used Galaxy Tab S9 or a used M1 iPad Air. Those would also be very, very good options as well. And that's kind of what I would think about here in this particular situation too. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.